It is Matt Mosley Show right here on the Rogue Media Network, and Scotty Swingler with me as always. We'll have a big Campus Confidential for you. And Scotty, we got so much on that front because we've got some hoops. We got the Big 12. You got the Big 12 men's, like their preseason all Big 12 team, and lots of players on that team. They don't limit it to like 5 or 6. It's like, 9 players or something. Scotty, unfortunately, I did not see a lot of Baylor representation. So I'm hoping you're right. Scotty. Recently you said the Bears can maybe be they'll be better as an underdog. They used to be really good in that role. And so now that nobody has them ranked, and they have 0 players being predicted to be anything. I mean, the transfer guy was from Tech. I mean, did Tech not have enough? They had the guard. They got J.D. Toppin, the preseason player of the year, and then they gave him like the newcomer of the year too. I mean, could Ogbum or even the guy from Oregon State, Ratai? I mean, could Baylor have been considered for one of these things? Scotty, one thing I try not to do is it's like you got to kind of, some days you do start with straight fire, but some days we kind of have to ease into what we're doing. And boy, thanks to everybody. A lot of our interviews are getting huge numbers. I have to think today with Gary Patterson coming on at 2:00, that's going to do really good numbers. Scotty, as you were a Baylor student when that Baylor TCU thing really started to take off. And then you were there, of course, when Baylor stumbled in 2013 in Stillwater. And then you were there for the 61-58 victory for the Bears in 2014. I got to figure out how I want to get into some of this with Gary, because Gary's not always, he'll try to get past the Baylor. He tries to not make more of it than what it is. But I'm just wondering, when you were a Baylor student, and you were not your typical Baylor student because you had probably grown up, huge Baylor fan. You had just witnessed the RG3 era. RG3 gets the Heisman. That's probably happening when you're still in high school.
That was my freshman year
at
Baylor.
Okay, so he wins the Heisman your freshman year. Who are y'all taking your lead off of on learning how to hate Gary Patterson and TCU? Your parents had brought you up on the old Baylor SWC rivalry, and you probably had heard stories about some of those old players, but it's not as you're growing up and you're in high school, TCU's not in the Big 12. In fact, they didn't get back into the Big 12 until 2011 or 12, right? That's when they added TCU.
2012, but that rivalry started bubbling. I'll tell you, Matt, the first time I remember really taking note was when I was in high school. And it was, I believe, my senior year of high school. Maybe it was prior to that, when Baylor traveled to Fort Worth, and there was that confrontation post-game with that great video of Kaz Kazadi telling a fan to get down there and get him some. You remember that video of Coach Kaz that went around?
Yeah, because weren't they giving Robert an extremely hard time?
Yeah. So it was definitely 20. Well, but I don't remember what year Griffin, because we went to TCU a couple times, but yeah, Baylor lost that game badly in Fort Worth.
And Robert,
they were exiting the field, and a bunch of fans were it was one ringleader in particular in the video that's leading it is kind of harassing Robert. And Kazadi kind of gets over there and plays tough guy. And there was an exchange that's quite memorable. I won't quote Coach Kaz. I'll let you go find that video on YouTube yourself, dear viewer. that's when I remember noticing, oh, like there's some vitriol here. And then, Matt, I think my class of students who had our first football game as Baylor students was Robert Griffin's, I believe, 4 touchdown performance in Floyd Casey against TCU, a game in which Baylor won on a China Spring Cougar Mike Hicks interception on the final play of scrimmage on Casey Paul Hall in 2011.
Well, okay, 48 to 45 or 40, something like that.
You're on it. You're on it.
Okay.
Yep. There was also a very famous Robert Griffin reception over the middle during that game on a trick play. He got blown up. Kendall Wright completed a pass to Griffin running a little slant pattern. That was interesting. Anyway, that was our first game as students, was that really thrilling win. And I believe in that game, TCU was ranked and Baylor was unranked. So when you open your college experience with that, and then my senior year, you open McLean Stadium, and one of the pivotal games that season is the 61-58 comeback.
Yeah.
And Baylor and TCU, not only is that individual game remarkable, but those teams are jousting for the 4th spot in the playoff and finish the regular season ranked number 5 and number 6. And so, Matt, I would just say those 4 years, my freshman year opening with that game, my sophomore year they joined the conference, my senior year, that's the scenario.
Yeah, well,
that was right.
It's the heyday.
It was right for that rivalry to reignite.
But I'm like, how did the students, though, because in the media, we knew exactly what was going on, and we were at the Big 12 media days, and we could sort of pick up on the little barbs that were happening back and forth between Art and Gary.
Yeah.
Like, how did the students, it seemed like everybody, was it just because Gary was the face of that evil empire? And so students just immediately picked up on that and were able to have that hate for Gary? Or did the students pick up on the girl who would like carry the towel around famously and,
we love that.
Hand it to Gary? Like, how did, I just wondered, like, I know what I picked up on, but I was already grizzled media Mosley veteran by then, in my 30s or 40s.
Yeah, sure.
I just didn't know what the students, how they were picking up on that.
And I can't remember other than to say, Matt, I think my entire experience as a student and even as an alum since has been hating TCU as a Baylor fan. And I think it's all of those things. It's like I said, my 4 years there were probably the 4 most thrilling in that rivalry. We love being right behind the opponent bench as a student section at Baylor. And you absolutely heckle the coach for the towel girl. That was absolutely part of this. And then, like Matt, just truthfully, I think Baylor institutionally, and I don't think the university does this, but the stories go around campus every year, Matt, about the fire in Waco that maybe some Baylor students started, and TCU had to run to Fort Worth to get out of Waco because there was only room for one of us. And like it is one of the oldest, most organic rivalries in the region, if not, in college football. And so, yeah, to be there during, like you said, its heyday, you've got arguably at that time the 2 best coaches in the conference, 2 best teams in the conference, often best rivalry in the conference, other than Texas OU there. Like, I don't know. It was. I don't think I have like a cool origin moment story for you other than to say like it's kind of baked into the university identity.
Yeah.
And it was baked into those 4 years with those huge games.
Yeah. No, what I was really trying to drill down on is just those. I just think it's interesting. Like right now, for instance, I wonder if Aranda has a feel for that. Like, I wonder if he's even, because he's so emotionless in a lot of ways. Not that
He
he
did
doesn't have
speak
a
to
fire
that.
burning. Yeah, I know he has an awareness, and he's brought in ex-players to try to speak to it. But like, I wonder if like Sonny at least grew up in a family where Baylor and Tech was still a big thing. His dad was coaching at Tech. Sonny would have a better idea of having sort of that passed down to him. And then he kind of inherits that. He knew what it meant at SMU to a certain extent. And then he kind of understands at TCU. I just hope everybody can kind of keep it alive, because what I think the scary thing was when Gary got fired in 2021 and Art got fired or whatever happened, well, he did get fired and the settlement occurred in 2016. It just, a lot of the emotion kind of was taken away. And a part of that was because the Bears had a couple of rough seasons. And then TCU, of course, had that crazy great season in 2022. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing that they fired Gary? And again, that's not all like a negative for Gary, because I think the way some TCU people view that now is that championship run and that and they didn't win the Big 12 championship, did they? They went to the playoff.
Correct.
But that going to the playoff was built with Gary's players. So I think Gary does get a fair amount of credit for what happened there. All right, I just like to revisit all that, and
I think Matt, like it is. I think it will maintain. I think these fan bases still drive it pretty hard and feel it, and I think even if you look at the caliber of the games, I mean, Baylor on a last-second field goal last season, TCU on a last-second field goal the season before. 2021, Baylor wins the Big 12 championship. Where was one of their two losses? Gary Bohannon throws a pick to end the game in Fort Worth. Like, this has continued to be incredible content on the football field and in the fan kind of, the seats or the Twitter sphere or whatever. And so I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's a very safe rivalry. That's why it's one of the very few games, the Big 12. The Big 12 is so funny. They're not going to protect a lot of games, but they're protecting this one,
Do you know I'm going to be in the press box Saturday after our Green and Gold Game Day program, and you'll be monitoring everything as you always do. It hit me that I spend so much of my life in a press box, but I had always gone to Baylor TCU as a fan. And I've had some really miserable experiences. 2015 comes to mind. That was horrific weather.
It was
cold, rain. I ended up watching the second half. I fully admit it. I went over to the Omni Hotel, and I thought that would be a safe space for Baylor fans to watch it in there. It was not. There was some ugliness happening in that bar area at the Omni Hotel in the second half. The TCU fans were rough. And I just remember thinking, dang, man, I can't believe it's like this. And it wasn't like, oh, these young students are mean or whatever. It was kind of some older folks. And I was just like, golly, this thing's nastier than I realized. Wow. Yeah, that was rough. So what I was going to say, Scotty, is I'll be in the press box Saturday. The only time I've been in the press box at Amon Carter for a Baylor TCU game, period, take out the Baylor TCU game, was that bowl game, for that Baylor Air Force game. I was in the press box for that. Thank goodness, I might add. Scotty, are you a crazy enough Baylor fan that you made the trip and attended as a Bears fan? Or did you watch that one remotely? Did you stay in the warmth and the comfort of your own home?
In 15?
No. I'm discussing the Baylor bowl game against Air Force.
I did not travel to that game. Okay. No.
Okay. Where were you in 15? Were you at
I was
the
in the
game?
state. I was in the stadium for that one
And
the whole time.
did you stayed out there for the messiness of that?
I did.
Did you sit with Baylor people,
Yes.
or were you mixed into some of the TCU folks?
No, I sat with two of my very good friends from Baylor, and we sat by ourselves pretty high up in the stadium, and it was remarkably cold because we were so wet. I could not feel my legs as I walked out of that stadium. That was a rough night. Rough night.
They almost beat them just with the run game. The rain was too bad to throw the ball, and they were down to the third string quarterback, and he just wasn't a great passer.
Well, but part of why I went to that game, Matt, if I'm recalling correctly, is I think we were undefeated going into that game. Wasn't that immediately after that same quarterback went to Oklahoma State and got a win in Stillwater?
Wait, that they went into that game undefeated?
Let's
Yeah,
look.
I don't know. Yeah, you're talking about, what's his name? Chris Johnson?
Chris Johnson, because his first start was in Stillwater, and I remember thinking before the game,
yeah, that was a remarkable win. If they beat
okay. Here's what I had forgotten. Stidham started the week before, and Baylor lost
to
Oklahoma.
Okay.
I had forgotten that. We did go then to number 6, Oklahoma State, the following week and beat them. That's the game in which I believe, that wasn't Johnson's start. Stidham played that game and got injured.
And Johnson took over.
Johnson took over and got the win.
They had the lead. Yeah. And
so we were 9-1. 9-1 going to Fort Worth for that TCU.
What ranked what? Does it say what they were ranked? What was TCU that year coming into that game?
7.
They only had one loss.
Number 7, Baylor at number 19, TCU.
Wow. So TCU had maybe 2 losses at that point. Maybe just one. I don't know.
And this tells you everything you need to know about that. Sorry, I'm looking at these box scores from that game. Chris Johnson was 7 for 24 in that game for 62 yards. But Trayvon Boykin, to speak to the weather, the Heisman runner-up the year before was 18 for 33 for 148. That's an average of 4.5 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. Nobody was throwing the ball. Golly, that was a gross game.
I thought Baylor had won that game when that first overtime, maybe it was, they scored, they ran it in. I mean, honestly, in that slop, that was such a tough one. I mean, that would have been a great win. That would have been a great win because then they had to do something weird, didn't they? The UT came in and they had to try to beat them without a quarterback. They had to try to beat UT at home with like Lynx Hawthorne playing in the Wildcat or something weird like that. Like that was that later that season. It could have been even the following week. But yeah, those were good. Those were good times. We'll get into all of this with the great Gary Patterson coming up at 2:00. In fact, I need to give him a little reminder. I may go put on a collared shirt. Should I? I wonder if Gary will have a cap on. I did get a haircut, Scotty. I don't know if you can tell, but I got a bit of a haircut. I've misplaced my glasses. This is a struggle. I do want to check real quick because the Cowboys had a lot going on today with talking. Their coordinators were speaking, and that's always interesting. Here's fun, and I'll send this to you, Scotty. Shoddy and CeeDee Lamb taking pictures together for the media. Okay, here we go. Cowboys defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus, this is 38 minutes ago, says they're still working on finding their identity. You think? Okay. Changes will be subtle. I mean, I don't know. I'd rather see massive changes. Here's what he had to say. When your performance has been inconsistent or not to the standard, you look at everything. Nothing is off the table. Keep working. The solutions are in the room. The call is coming from inside the house. Okay, there he is. And people are responding with, what room are they talking about? I like this. I also saw a deal, and Scotty, I always regret not sending these things to you. I see things all day, and a lot of them I send to you, and then sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that's interesting, and then I forget to. But I can do it. I'll do it. I'll get this to you. I think this Pickens video grabbed my attention yesterday. They're talking to George Pickens. It could have been from earlier today. Pickens, talking about his staying long-term, his long-term status with the Cowboys. And you would think he'd be like, yeah, I love it here. And he was pretty dismissive of the question. Now, the full quote I'm looking at, that's where he said, I think this was yesterday. George Pickens just said, I wouldn't mind staying with the Cowboys, but he did it in a very sort of dismissive way. It was just kind of like, wouldn't mind. It was a bit odd. He showed no love for Cowboys Kingdom. Can we call it that? I guess it's Chiefs Kingdom. He showed no love for Cowboys Kingdom. He went on to say, I'm definitely in the middle of the season, so I'm not fully thinking about it. I kind of just want to keep going and see how far we can get this season as far as playoffs and stuff like that. Okay. George, give us something. My gosh. All right, we got to stay focused today because we got major guests at 2. We got major sponsors to take care of. Central National Bank, right up there. You see them right up there in the corner. Thank you, Brian Fonville. We try to bring all these downloads and all these viewers on all our different platforms because we know we want to make our partners proud. And Central National Bank, there's not a prouder partner that we have. We're proud of them. We think they're proud of us most days. But CNB, you see the logo. You know what it means. You know what it means to the community. You know what it means, the Nesbitt family and the owners of that bank. My goodness. It is the creme de la creme. That's how we say it in Kaufman County. And Ascension Providence. There's an interview coming up today that Scotty executed. And I can't wait to meet more of these doctors. I used to know some of them. And I'm going to get to know more of them. But we've got something in the 2:00 hour that we're going to share with you. I'd say about, 2:40 today. And just something really, really cool we'd like to share with you. And something Scotty did with one of the medical professionals right over there at Ascension Providence. Thank you, Ascension. Thank you for what you do. And, of course, Alan Samuels, Cherry Johnson, Siegmund James Law Firm, Schmaltz. Man, we ought to – Scotty, do we have time real quick? I was just thinking, should we do – you want to wait or you want to do trivia? Because it is Trivia Thursday. You want to wait?
We will wait.
All right. We'll wait. We'll do Schmaltz's Trivia Thursday later in the program. But right now, it is time. We're going to do some Campus Confidential right after this.
If you want the best for your body, you want Ascension Providence, the largest sports and orthopedics group in Central Texas. Using innovative and cutting-edge technology, we're able to understand your body better than ever, delivering treatment with precision. And with our fellowship-trained and board-certified doctors, you'll receive excellent care. Work with a team dedicated to your health, wellness, and safety.
So you can perform
at your best.
Ascension Providence, caring for Texas families for over 120 years.
Drive in the fall at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Waco. Huge savings and the best selection in Central Texas. From powerful Ram trucks, Motor Trend's Truck of the Year, to adventure-ready Jeeps and stylish new Dodges, we've got the right ride for you. Upgrading, downsizing, or buying your very first vehicle, Allen Samuels has you covered with friendly service and deals that make driving fun. Don't miss the Drive in the Fall event, only at Allen Samuels.
Come by, let's be friends.
When Central National Bank decided to partner with Baylor women's basketball, we didn't know exactly what that partnership would look like.
What brings you into the bank today?
For the last couple of months, I've been noticing a charge on my account, and I would like to block it.
I see. So you have a charge,
Yes?
and you'd like to block it?
Yes.
I think you should take the charge.
What?
Yeah, I definitely think you should take the charge.
I don't think you understand.
Sometimes you just have to take one for the team.
Is there a manager available?
We love that Coach Colin is all about the team. Once we get the vocabulary down, the sky's the limit.
Central National Bank, proud partner of Baylor Athletics and Baylor women's basketball.
I have Mac Rhodes, director of Baylor Athletics, on the phone. Mac, can you tell Peggy why she should take the charge?
Of course she should take the charge. Wait, are you at the bank again? And who is Peggy?
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code Mosley to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code MOSLEY. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play-and-get-terms_DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369.
Welcome back. Mosley Show. Scotty Swingler live from Central Texas, Alico Building, if you know where that is, at 425 Austin Avenue here in downtown Waco. Underdog, man. It's not just something we talk about. It's something that I do every single week. Would love for you to jump in and play with me. Now, I gave you my college football picks yesterday. I will probably bring those back up tomorrow. Today, I wanted to let you know that I've made some NFL picks for this weekend. First time in a couple weeks. And that includes in tonight's game. We're going quarterback heavy on Underdog on some NFL selections. Here's what I've got. If you would like to win some money on Underdog with me, here's who to pick. Aaron Rodgers tonight going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. The old man matchup, Rodgers versus Flacco. I've got Aaron with higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns. He's only failed to hit that mark, I believe, once this season. Quietly having a very outstanding year as Aaron Rodgers. Drake May starting to sneak into the top 5 on some sports books MVP odds. He is quietly having an outstanding sophomore campaign in New England. He plays against a very, very poor team, perhaps the worst team in the NFL, the Tennessee Titans. I think he will also have higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns. And then Jaden Daniels. One, if you've heard me talk about football, you know how much I love Jaden Daniels. But two, he's playing against the Cowboys secondary. And folks, if there's something we know, it's that this season, quarterbacks, including Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, and Caleb Williams, are liable to have their best game against the Cowboys secondary. So I've got all three of these guys, Rodgers tonight, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels, with higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns. Those are my NFL picks for the weekend. And again, if you want to play along, use the promo code Mosley. You put in $5, they'll give you 50 just to keep playing with. It helps the show out. It'll help us out. Use that promo code, jump in, see what you can do on Underdog. And if you win some money, jump in the live chat. Let me know that you won some money with your Underdog picks, and maybe we'll have to have you start making these picks instead of me. I did win this week. I think I mentioned that earlier in the week. My baseball picks with Max Muncy becoming the all-time leading postseason home run hitter for the Dodgers. I got some money. So trying to win some more on football this weekend. And I will stop talking about Underdog's promo code Mosley and bring on Mosley.
That's right. Used to be an old radio segment called Mosley when the old famed sports writer and radio legend Randy Galloway would just kind of step over. And then, of course, every topic I brought up, Scotty, I try not to do this to you, he would shoot out of the water and go, that's a dumb story. He didn't like any of the stuff I brought up, but we did have some fun over the years. It is the Mosley Show with Scotty Swingler. Always doing his thing, wonderful production work, wonderful on-air work, and he'll get to meet one of his heroes today. Gary Patterson will be stopping by. Last time Gary stopped by, the Z-Man was doing the show, and Scotty, it was one of his rare absences, and I don't think it had anything to do with Gary being on, but today, Scotty will be there. Scotty will get to visit with the great man. In fact, Scotty, if you've got anything for Gary, you let me know. We'll get it right. We'll get you right on there, and love to have you jump in there. Now we gotta do some campus confidential, Scotty, because Gary has already informed me that he's planning to jump on at 55 after, because he likes to get connected and make sure everything's right. So no rush, but let's do some campus confidential.
Well, you teased it, so let's start with some basketball today. Big 12 putting out the coaches poll as well as preseason conference teams. And Matt, you're right. Baylor, an underdog. Here it is. The coaches say Baylor 7th, and that's, by the way, a very secure 7th, well behind Kansas in terms of points here at 6th. So Baylor 7th in that poll, and then no Baylor players making the preseason all Big 12 team. You got 2 BYU Cougars, 3 Houston Cougars, 2 Texas Tech Red Raiders, but no Baylor Bears. I call this some Tunde Yesufu disrespect.
I mean, to the victors go the spoils. Houston deserves it, right? Houston went as far as they went. Played for a national title. Hello, Scotty B. Scotty B says they're sleeping on Tunde. I think he's right. See, if you comment with us in the comment section, we'll put it right up there on the screen. I love it when Scotty does that. And we have a lot of people who experience the Mosley Show later in the day. But for our live customers, we do interact with you, which is fun. It used to be we'd give you a number to call. I would not be opposed to figuring out a bit of a hotline where we could hear from listeners. I don't think we've been doing this long enough. I mean, I think we're still learning. Getting me to turn the laptop on is a big enough chore, Scotty, before we start having call-ins. But it's something we could experience down the road. I think the only thing that kind of takes the heat off Scott Drew and the Bears being 7th is the Jayhawks being 6th, because I cannot. That's shocking, and you see that they have a unanimous pick with Darren Peterson coming in as a great freshman, but just based on Bill Self and the past and the fact that they used to, they went 20 years dominating the Big 12 before Baylor, and Baylor had some great moments, but Baylor really got even with Kansas starting in about 2019 and 20 and 21 and 22 and even 23 to a certain extent. And so that's pretty wild to see Baylor and Kansas, because they were ruling the roost. They ran the conference, the two of them, for about a 4 or 5 year period. And then, everybody said, well, Houston, good luck to a swell fella, but it's not going to be as easy as it was in the American Athletic Conference. And they lost a game or two early in their time, and all they've done is just dominate the conference ever since. All right? I mean, let's tell it like it is. Baylor really doesn't have – they're just not – Baylor and Kansas are not really that close to Houston as a program right now. Now, that doesn't mean they can't jump right back in there. It can't mean they have a great season, and maybe the Bears upset the Cougs this year. But right now, McCaslin, even Iowa State coach, Otzelberger, who's such a great coach, and there's other teams that are in the mix well before Baylor and Kansas, and it's frustrating, but it's just the way it is. Arizona has jumped up there. All these teams that came in, man, they did not come in hat in hand. Arizona and Houston showed up and said, hey, we're here, and BYU's acting the same way. We can make fun of BYU, and I don't like what they did with Rob Wright. I don't love it at all. But hey, they ponied up, and they basically took him right away from the Bears. So I thought it was underhanded, and it's beneath who they think they say they are and profess to be. But it is the way of the world now, sadly. Okay, Scotty. See, I'm going to start talking about worldly things, and what do pastors always say? One of the things pastors have to do right now is just they have to mention how broken the world is, and by the way, it's all true, but there are like certain buzzwords that especially non-denom pastors really need to hit hard.
Brokenness.
We're broken.
Doing life together.
We're doing life together. We're broken. Yeah, doing life together. And then if you're like giving dating advice or your couples therapy, Scotty, yeah, you spent too much time probably down that path. But pursue each other or whatever. What's that one? You got to keep pursuing her.
Matt,
my wife, we're 27 years in. She's like, I don't want him pursuing me.
Matt, your relationship is like a triangle, and each of you is here. And what you'll note about a triangle is as you both pursue God, it brings you closer together.
Not like that.
That's what they say.
It all goes back to like the Roman road. There was that bridge, and we need something to kind of bridge that gap, and then we kind of apply that to a lot of things. By the way, the guy out at Harris Creek, I hope he's doing better. I was kind of monitoring his progress, and I haven't looked the last couple of days, but I hope he's a good guy there. And what are his initials?
JP.
Okay, good. I was thinking I wanted to call him PJ Fleck, but that's a college football coach who we all loved. You remember that when Baylor needed to hire a coach at one point?
I do.
We were all trying to throw out PJ Fleck.
Row the boat on the Brazos, yeah.
Okay, we continue Campus Confidential. We've all agreed that the coaches have screwed over Baylor, but that's fine. That's a good thing. They've buried the Bears at number 7 in the conference. That's way beneath us as a program. I mean, that is – you would not do that to Nikki and the Baylor women, would you? You would not even think about that. I mean, the lowest you would have the Baylor, the team formerly known as the Lady Bears, would be like number 3. That's as low as you'd take them. And you know what, by the way, our old nemesis, the team we controlled and we just embarrassed for years, that University of Texas women's program, Vic Schaefer. They had to go hire Vic. We can't beat Kim. What? Let's go hire somebody to beat Kim. Well, they never did that. But Vic Schaefer is now number 4 in the country. Whoa. University of Texas women's basketball is back, and they're playing the Bears. I think. See, that's what I like. Nikki's kind of like, hey, we'll take all comers.
I like it too.
We're going to go play UT in Fort Worth at not Will Rogers, but Dickies Arena. It's just like those jeans that Scotty loves to wear. Scotty's probably never had a Dickies item in his life. You ever worn something from Dickies, like the Dickies brand? It doesn't really seem like you. You're way too bohemian. Dickies is a little more
bohemian,
working man. You're absolutely bohemian. Don't even try to act like you're not.
I think that's the first time anybody's ever used that word to describe me.
Oh, well, that's because people don't understand you like I do. If they're not using bohemian. No, you totally are. Now, you're bohemian. You're like a Baylor bohemian, but you're totally, you're more comfortable in a coffee shop than a bar. You're probably a little too comfortable at both, but I do think the coffee shop suits you better. All right, what else do you have for me? Knowing that in 3 minutes, Gary will be hanging out in our waiting room because.
Well, then let's do this quick. You mentioned a former Baylor coach, Kim Mulkey. Did you see that?
No.
Matt Rule continued to talk today, and this time this might get his copyright struck, but we're not monetized on YouTube yet. So let's just roll the tape. Pat McAfee Show. Welcome to Matt Rule today. Here's what he said.
And I don't want to have to distract you here because obviously you're in the middle of a season and you've already answered this about how much, like, hey, that's my hometown. Like, I love that place. Like, I always will. Everybody loves their alma mater. That conversation's only going to heat up around you assume. And you said before, like, hey, this is what happens. I was at Temple. I was at Baylor. Anywhere you have success, this type of shit happens. I'm used to this. This is a good thing, not a bad thing, that other people want our players, want our coaches, myself included. That's kind of been your messaging. You've been here before. What does that look like for you with team, with everything, with how hot that's going to get in the kitchen, it seems like?
It's with my team. It's just unbridled honesty. Tell them the truth. Tell them exactly the truth, and don't.
By the way, he said that at Baylor too.
They'll know. And secondly, like, just out there, like, this is it. This is part of it. Like, it's better than when I was in Carolina and they were chanting to fire me, right? So it's better than being on every hot seat list. So having other schools maybe be interested in you is pretty cool. But I don't do that during the season. I don't mess around with that. I don't play that. And at the same time, this is not a jumping off job. This is a destination job. This is one of the greatest places in the world. This is a town of 300,000 people. This isn't everyone says like Lincoln. It's 300,000 people here in Lincoln. Like, I can do whatever I want here. I have a great young team, the youngest team in the Big Ten. Think about how good we'll be next year. Now, I'm not thinking about next year, but where we are right now, like, we're learning. Think about where we're going to go with Dylan and all these guys. So I refuse to be distracted. At the same time, it's when it's your alma mater, you have to show it love and respect. And I hope, and I love Pat Kraft, they'll find the right coach for them, whoever that is. But, like, this is a destination job that should be a national bully, that should be a beast. And I think we're making our way to doing that.
Matt.
He's so good at it because he's had so much experience.
Matt, I remain unconvinced. It was so funny.
Unbridled.
He was doing pretty well talking about destination job, and then he said, but at the same time, when it's your alma mater, and it's like, oh, there it is. There's those true colors. We know how you feel. We know you're talking to your agent. He actually went on in that interview to say some of the effect of, like, it's interesting, like at Temple, we had to rebuild, and the 1 year we got good, I left. And then at Baylor, we had to rebuild, and then the 1 year we got really good, I left. And so maybe I need to stick around here and see what happens next. And I'm like, bet you won't. Bet you won't.
Isn't it funny? He really should be remembered by Baylor fans as like only great thoughts. And for the most part, I think people have fairly positive feelings, maybe not quite as much as you do, but fairly positive feelings. But when Baylor fans and observers hear that, they immediately go back to that place you're talking about and go,
yep,
we've heard this all before. And to me, it always seemed kind of poor form that 1 year when he won one game and he was interviewing for an NFL job. I was just like, just on the way it looks, and maybe there was some twisted thing that made Baylor people feel better about him or something. I don't know. I do remember thinking after that 1-win season, I'm like, I hope this guy knows what he's doing, because that was awful. That was some awful stuff. But Matt, hey, Scotty, do you think Dave Aranda has like a boom mic in his office like that? Do you think he did an interview yesterday with like a nice boom mic?
That fits. That tracks. Yeah.
Okay, now any minute, Gary Patterson will be entering our live stream. Is he already there?
He's ready when you're ready, I think.
Do you need to run anything? I mean,
no.
Gary's nothing if not patient. All right, let's bring him on. Gary, I'm sorry. I told you to. We're going to bring you right on. Anytime. We do not make a Hall of Famer, soon to be college football Hall of Fame, in the TCU Hall of Fame now. What kind of angle do we have there? Where are you? In your office? I like your background there. Like if I looked out that window, what would I see? Is that where the swimming pool and everything is?
Or street, just the street. I have my back to the front street.
Okay.
It's in my office now. If I turn this around out the windows, I can see the Amon Carter Stadium.
In the shadows of Amon Carter. Now, will you take Saturday's game in from that view?
Usually I go up there to the game. I go up, get a chance to see everybody and go up for half. And then I come home and I watch the games from, because, there's a lot of games on. And since I'm doing that the film podcast for Amazon and Locked On podcast, then I want to come home and watch other games. So for sure I'll be at the Baylor game for a half, maybe a little longer.
I was hoping you cracked open a Miller Lite or something. I heard it and I thought maybe.
No, Dr. Pepper,
What,
Baylor special.
The Baylor. Are you a Dr. Pepper guy? That's good.
Yeah, I never was a coffee guy. I never was a coffee guy. I was never any of that. So never did any. That's my only vice is one of these things every once in a while.
Hey, did you what did you think of Matt Rule when he was when he came to Baylor? I feel like I remember us talking, and I think you kind of liked him.
Yeah, but him and I got along great. Even when he went to the Panthers, he came in for our senior day workouts in the spring for the draft. He was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome to have him around. Yeah, Matt was always him and I always chatted all the time.
Yeah, we didn't like that, the fact that suddenly the Baylor and TCU coaches were getting along.
Yeah, because he came after Art, right?
Yeah, he did. Don't forget the Jim Grobe era, sir.
I just talked to him the other day. Great man. I've known him for a long time. Yep. It's hard. That was a no-win situation for him to come in and, try to help service for a season, just kind of give a little calmness. So
What did you do to the Grove that year? I'm trying to think. That Baylor team started off well, then finished 6-6. First of all, that game, isn't it weird to have a TCU Baylor game, whatever this week is? Is it like October 18th? Doesn't that seem strange to you?
Yeah,
for years, the schedulers put it at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, we played earlier, we played late, but I never played much in the middle.
Yeah.
We was always we seemed like we were playing in Waco or they were playing here. It was always somewhere in November because it was always cold, like that overtime game that we had. That was one of the colder days, evenings I was ever part of, with the rain and the sleet and everything else. So
I don't know why you had to bring that game up.
Well, because we were talking about the weather and we were talking about when we played the game.
I'm just saying I have poor memories of that.
I'm not a fan. I didn't bring it up. Here, you want me to make it even 61-58? now do you feel better?
A little bit.
I mean, I've been 4 years out of coaching, so it's now 3 or 4 years. So now it's all I was really taken back by the response in the stadium when winning the TCU Hall of Fame and the banquet.
Yeah.
And you said college. College Hall of Fame is hard to get into. It's they only take 2 coaches a year. It's that's a hard deal, and it's so we'll see how that all goes out. And but I think there is a couple more that I've been called on that, will be announced here later on that are not the College Hall of Fame. But so I'm excited about all of them. It's, for me, players, when the players go in the Hall of Fame, because they were the Warriors, I think it's truly about their efforts. When coaches go in the Hall of Fame, I always think of it took a village. You think about all the players, you think about, because TCU I tell people I've been here 25 years that I came here at 37 and I ended at 62. So you have this complete big village, over 840 players in the 25 years I was here. All the coaches that came through, you think about all the administrators, you think about all the coaches of the other sports, and then you think of all the people in Fort Worth or TCU people that gave money to build all the things we did. I mean, it was a perfect storm. It was a perfect storm of winning, and then the fracking underneath Fort Worth, as far as when they started doing that, everywhere else was having a down time, and it was just booming here because of oil and gas. And so you go to a Rose Bowl, you go to, it's like I was part of 5 mayors, 4 ADs, and 3 chancellors. And the third mayor in 2008, I asked him, I said, why is it that it just seems like Fort Worth and TCU just don't get along? And, when we got done with the conversation, we said we were going to change it and just have, that was in 2008. 2000, that next season we go to the Fiesta Bowl, and then you go to the Rose Bowl, and then things just really took off. But it took 10 years. I mean, from 98 really till where we're at. Really beating Oklahoma and Norman really started the change in 2005. But yeah, it's I love the rivalry of Baylor and TCU. I still have I still laugh about the guy when I was down there consulting that he told me after it was the night before the spring game, and I went to a NIL dinner. The guy said, he said, I hate you. You've ruined everything that I ever thought. I said, what? He said, well, I had these five different things that I lived by, and one of them was I hated Gary Patterson. Okay. And he said, then I sit here at the table and I can see the players really like you and they respect you and you're a fun guy to talk to. And then you get up, you write music, you sang music. He said, you've ruined my life. He said, now I only have 4 constants in my life instead of 5 constants, because he said, I don't think I can hate Gary Patterson anymore. So, I mean, I wasn't exactly high on your totem pole, Matt.
No.
It's this relationship has come on, a few years down the road.
It took some healing. That's like a lot of my relationships over the years. Although, Twitter wasn't like quite as huge when all that was happening. So it didn't, I don't think you could find any like ugly tweets, but there was some TV I was doing back then when you and Art were kind of going at it. And obviously I was leaning one way in that back and forth. Man, those were some good times. Now, during that time, are there any memories that you have in that Baylor TCU rivalry that stick out more than any others? So I reached out to Landry, one of your former players, Burdine, and he was remembering, and some people always remember that 2015 game you brought up. Ty Summers, I believe, was involved in the tackle.
And Julius Lewis, corner. Yeah, he actually coaches for TCU. He now coaches for TCU. One of the analysts or GAs. I don't know what exactly his title is.
Yeah, most of your guys are now
with the Detroit Lions. He just got on with the Detroit Lions the other day.
Yeah, most of your old coaches are on the Baylor staff now. We've hired.
And most of Baylor on TCU staff. Kaz is there. You got Kaz, you got Kendall. You got Brian Norwood. You had Buckles at one point. As the corner. You had. It's just they've all switched.
Yeah, isn't like one of our receivers over there, Corey Coleman or something?
He's the wide receiver. Exactly. They wonder why I haven't been in the TCU football up. They don't allow me in the TCU football office. Now it's like
there's too much.
It's Baylor North.
Are there ever moments though, you say you've kind of moved on, but are there games or plays that ever still keep you up at night? Like, I wish I had done this differently near midfield or done something not wanted. Like, what does that stuff, still come back to you sometimes?
Oh, yeah.
Specifically with this rivalry.
Well, yeah, I mean, the cool thing about it is everybody knew Texas and Oklahoma. I think what the Baylor-TCU rivalry did is it raised the level of the conference because you showed two private schools could actually become very, very high, play at a high level and play at a national high level. To be honest with you, I don't think if one of the two did it, it would happen. Because both of us did it, I think it made a difference. Because, then we rivaled the Oklahomas and the Texas, I think. And I was talking to Troy Calhoun at Air Force, his daughter and son went to TCU, and his son worked a little bit in the TCU football office, and he came back to see him, and that's one of the things he said. He said, no matter what anybody says, TCU raised the level of the Mountain West Conference. And I think when now going into the Big 12, I think Baylor and TCU at the time, that 13, when you start through TCU and Baylor raised the level of the conference back when that all happened. And so nobody just thought about just Oklahoma and Texas, and so now you got Texas Tech that's really on the right. I mean, you just gotta, tide, you just gotta raise the level of the tide and just keep working at becoming better at what you do. And so I think, one thing I could say about Coach Brazos, he was an unbelievable offensive mind of how he did things and went on. He helped change the game, just like a lot of people give me credit for. And in fact, there was a Texas Tech guy said this the other day. He said, "You were the guy that changed how people played Mike Leach's offense." I mean, I don't know if you can give me a bigger compliment than that. And I don't even know if that's true or not. But, when we finally beat them 12-3, where we held them without a touchdown in 2006, and people started looking at the 5 defensive back system to be able to, and then really kind of going to the 3-man rush and 6 defensive backs of being able to do things. And so, that's the part. And when going back to, we talked about going in the Hall of Fames and everything. That's what I talk about, because I think of players. I think of players in certain ball games and things they did. I remember still in the 51-50 game in 2011, the year before we went in the conference, and Baylor beat us 51-50 in a 4th down play where they actually threw a pass, and then Robert Griffin actually ran straight up the middle as the quarterback. And it was a 4th and 4, 4th and 5 play, and it was a double pass.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, I mean, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of plays that haunt me. I wish in that ball game, I wish I would have kicked the onside kick instead of kicking back to him. Once we got to where the score was, I wish I would have kicked the onside kick. It was there, and I thought, well, we can stop him, even though we really hadn't stopped him really all night, because we lost so many players in that Rose Bowl team. And so at the end of the day, I mean, I can just you go through all those plays and players, and it's fun. It's fun running. It's fun running into all of them, whether they played for Baylor or TCU. It's you're just part of the history, the historical part of the game of that series. So, and probably maybe I can't go back to Grant Tapp and all that, but probably at that high a level on a national level is maybe that was a short period of time where TCU and Baylor were both thought of in the top 10 in the country, I think. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. What if y'all were both so great on each side of the ball like you were, like where did you and Art get crossways, or was some of that misunderstood? Because both fan bases in a lot of ways took their lead off you guys, and that fueled an incredible rivalry. in a lot of ways, and maybe it already existed, but it really heated up with you and Art because you were at the top of your games. You're playing well above your weight. You're up there with the big boys knocking on the door, making everybody uncomfortable. The Ohio States of the world. Are Baylor or TCU going to get in? But I'm just curious, like, when did y'all cross paths, and why did you guys not? Why was it just because the schools disliked each other so much? I wonder where y'all got crossways.
Well, because anything you say, there's only going to be two different opinions. I would say that, TCU, we had got the Rose Bowl, we raised our level, and then you ended up going from there and getting in the Mountain West, and then we got the Big 12, and Baylor wanted to get there, and I think you couldn't do it with that they're out there being a little bit, and I hate to use the word hatred. I mean, I'm saying, just one having what one didn't have, and you just kind of kept pushing every year. You just had to keep doing what you needed to do to get to the top of the mountain. And so I think, if you talk to fans, it was because it was so close, it was probably one of the more enjoying times in college football for TCU and Baylor because they're so close. And you could have this, even I would say a festive hatred toward each other when they played, when it came to the fans and everybody, because you knew you were going to see great. It wasn't going to be, when you played, it wasn't going to be bad football. You're going to see some spectacular plays on both sides of the ball, and it was going to come down probably to a one score ball game because they were always really close. And so, and it really didn't, through that 4 or 5 years, it didn't. That was kind of the way it was. Even if one team was considered a lot better than the other at the time on that season. I think the only year was when the Grove year, after Art stepped down and Coach Grove took over, was the only year that really that game, that was in Waco, kind of got out of hand. And it was because really I think everything was pointed towards, not really towards playing TCU. There was a lot of things going on in the stadium at the time that was, everything else was going on. So for me, I look back, I enjoyed those ball games because here's the thing, you only get better, you can only raise your level of your team when you play good people and you can do good things against good players. Everybody can do well against teams that aren't athletic and aren't schematically sound. It's one of the reasons we got better with our scheme, because even when we played in the Mountain West, you had some unbelievable receivers that you had to defend at Utah, Dyson. We played San Diego State and they had 4 receivers that all went in the draft, along with 2 offensive, the 2 tackles and a tight end and the running back. They had all kinds of athletes. Fresno State was a team in the so you learned how to defend a lot of different people, because then you had to all the way to Air Force where you had to play the triple. So you had to get good at, your kids had to get good at a lot of things. And so I think that led into being able to play. People don't understand, and people say now, I see the Big Ten going, and some of the head coaches talking about, well, it's so hard for them to travel to the West Coast, or it's hard for the West Coast to travel. We had to do that. You had to learn how to bring your own energy. When we went to BYU and Utah, they would have 50,000 to 65,000 fans, and we bring 200. You had to bring your own energy. If you're going to go win the conference title, you're going to have to go bring your own energy. You can't blame it on you. Got to find a way to go do that. And that's kind of why my coaching style the way it was. Some coaches are very subdued. On the sidelines, they're going to stay real quiet all the time, or some are very active. I was one of those guys that if I felt like my team had a lot of energy and they did it, then I didn't have to use mine. But if they were down and doing it, then you were going to see me active all over the place, trying to get them going, doing all of it. And not a lot of people have that flip the switch type attitude. And a lot of people viewed that somebody of being, it was just being just having a lot of energy. I can't control the looks I had on my face or who I was yelling at or whatever else. It was just what it is. But I would tell you this, in this day and age, if I would go back to be a head coach, I won't go back as ever being the bad cop. I mean, I don't think as the head coach, I mean, recruiting and NIL and everything else that's going on, I don't think you can, you got to, I've talked to people. I said, look, we put a staff together. I said, I'm going to put about 5 guys that are handling all that for me.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm going to, when you're talking to families, you're trying to keep a kid from leaving and going in the portal and do all, that doesn't mean there's not going to be intensity. That doesn't mean we're still not going to grow a team up. And I kind of learned that talking to kids at both Texas and Baylor.
Yeah.
They'd listen and they understood what I was in, but I haven't really raised my voice in 4 years. It's like,
is that why you sound so good singing?
A lot better, I can tell you that. I mean, but it's still not like when I was in my 20s and 30s. But I mean, it's I still believe at places, and I get a chance to talk and go to places more. There's the great players still want to be told, I think, in coaching, and I think the good players still want to be coached, and the bad ones, you got to show them why there's reasons why they need to start listening so they can work themselves up the totem pole. And because it's still about getting to the NFL, and it's still about getting education. I hear programs where kids they don't want to go to class. It's not what I came here for, because they're getting paid and all the stuff with NIL. Still only 1% is going to make it. And what you got to understand is you better go get a degree. You better learn some things that we used to always teach in college by playing in the sport, from our hard work, accountability, how you treat people, how everything goes, so you can go out and you can make a living. And, maybe a lot of people can't have those kind of conversations, but I mean, like I said, we had over 800 after 24 years. I got a lot of examples of kids coming back that weren't happy with me, for 4 or 5 years, to come back and say, things you were telling me that I didn't really want to listen to, because I really have only one rule. I don't ever want my own sons or players come back and say, why didn't you tell me about this?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell me about how hard it was to get a job, how hard it was to pay rent, how hard it was, because I was continuing. Here's why you're doing this. This is why you're going to get a degree. And here's the thing. There was an old coach that worked with me by the name of Dick Bumpus. He was my coordinator. And he said, here's what a college degree does for most people. Number one, it shows that you can set goals and you can achieve them. And shows that, number two, you can get along with people. And that's, if I've had one coach, I've had 100 coaches that people have tried to hire them in the workforce outside of football for the simple reason that not many people think it's a normal thing to work 20 hours a day so they can outwork people. And they're, recruiting's marketing. It's about going out and selling, doing it. They touch all the bases. A coach touches all the bases of what it means to go make it in the world. Now, they're not technical to be a doctor. They're not technical to be a lot of things, but at the end of the day, most coaches are people persons, so they're used to being able to talk and get along and do it. And so at the end of the day, and that's what it's one of the things that I'm trying to give back to the profession, whether it's helping, whether it's the Texas High School Association or the national, the college football or whatever it is, just keep trying to give back, because I think we can't give up on the fact that our job is still to change men. That's why we had a saying at TCU. It said 40, not 4. It wasn't about the 4 years you're going to be in college. It's about, did we give you enough that when you left, you could make it from 22 to 62, 40, not 4. And so that hasn't changed. And I still, I have coaches all the time still that work for me or not that call back and always asking questions about how do you handle this. And so, that's been a fun part for me, because it's kind of like being a grandparent. You can give them all the candy you want, and they can have a great time at your house, but at the end of the night, they're going back to their parents. So I don't have to get up the next morning after giving somebody a suggestion, and I'm happy to go to a pregame meal right now. No pregame meals, no staying up 20 hours a day unless I just want to work and do all of it. But it's just, Matt, it's fun. It's a great profession. I'm worried about them right now because of the recruiting rules and and how many months now you can go on an official visit. You know, a lot of college coaches are thinking about going to the NFL because used to be they want to do opposite. And now it's got, I mean, used to be, you know, you can start in August and you start official visits up in this, and now it's you start in April and you have official visits and you got to keep your own kids from going in the portal. I mean, I had an example the other day. An agent called and said, well, he was a second team running back at this one university and he's not getting enough carries. And the guy goes, we're winning and he's second team. And the guy left. Well, we're gonna redshirt him because you're hurting his career. I mean, he was only a freshman or sophomore. They got to grow up. I mean, you got to give them a chance. These guys don't understand. Anytime you got to go learn another program, another offense, another defense, I mean, that just slows down their process. And you lose hours when you go into another university. When usually it's always been that way. You lose hours towards graduation when you change schools. I mean, all this stuff, nobody talks about. Here's two things you never hear anymore. You never hear anybody talking about concussions, and you never hear anybody talking about student athletes. I mean, it used to be that was the only way the outside world for a while, for about 5 or 6 years, could get into college football and make money was concussions. But now you never hear them ever talk about, well, you know, we need to do what's best for the student athlete. Because concussions, now you don't need it. You got NIL, you got other ways that people are making money off things. And nobody talks about getting a degree, doing all that. Now, behind the scenes, I think coaches are. I know, like I heard Sark down in Texas talk about they had the highest GPA they had ever had as a team. It was like a 3.1 or something GPA. I mean, it was outstanding. I mean, those are the things that make a difference.
Yeah. And it still happens. Boy, you saying those nice things about art earlier, I can't get that out of my head. And I may try to set up like a speaking engagement. Can you imagine the Baylor and TCU people if you guys ever spoke at the same place? He's doing a speaking engagement in Waco end of this month.
Awesome.
And it's the first public event he's done in a long, long time. But I think
didn't they name a field after him in Stephenville?
In Stephenville, yeah.
Yeah, I pay attention.
You do. And that's it. I always wonder, like, the first time y'all ever met. Anyway, you know I can't move off of that, but you try. You're like, you really should run for something, because the minute I start trying to pin you down on art, you went a whole different direction on me. Yeah.
So there was a guy I saw a wreck, and so he's trying to get me. He was asking me questions. He's deposing me, isn't that the word depose?
Yeah.
So he asked me this question about 9 different ways to try to get an answer a certain way. I said, don't you know that we're in a pro market? I've stood in front of 30 cameras every Saturday.
Yeah.
This is not my first rodeo.
Yeah.
Not my first. And here's the thing. All that stuff, it doesn't matter anymore. I mean, art's now, you got grandkids. I mean, we both moved on. We good coaches, good people. It's kind of like, there's this stage you get into where, now it's I saw something the other day. It's like, why after 60 do you ever get in an argument? I mean, you're just, that's why I wrote that song that I have that was about art. It was about R.C. Slocum and Philip Fulmer.
Yeah.
Called The Pennies of Your Life. It's all about, counting back from 80, because, really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you just, it's just, how do you move forward where you have positivity in your life and doing things? And so.
Well, yeah. Isn't that funny, by the way, that A&M spent $75 million to buy somebody out, and then you hear them saying, we need somebody like R.C. Slocum. It's like, well, you had him for about 20 something years. Okay.
And he's a great man, and he's still there. He's still working for the
university. I know. That's why TCU, y'all should, I think the healing is taking place, and they'll probably try to get you involved even more. Although the problem with you is you can't, I know you're watching this like Signetti, and he goes to Indiana, and this is amazing, like what that guy has done. And he's your age. That guy's probably about exactly your age, and he has that same Patterson.
45?
Yeah, 45, exactly. So I know there's part of you. And by the way, if the Cowboys call, I did recommend via Twitter.
I saw that. I saw that.
I'm only halfway kidding. Like, and I'm no.
You probably hurt me with Jerry because they don't like to be told what to do. Nobody.
Maybe so, but that's rough. And I know as coaches, y'all don't like putting down other coaches, but that defense is completely lost right now. And I'm talking run defense, pass coverage. It's all a big mess, but I'm not going to go down that road with you. Let me ask you about Baylor's defense, because you actually know some of these kids. Now, I'm not saying I get it. You haven't stayed in touch with them and you've been removed from the program. I get that. But to do this show that you're doing, you do have to watch, and that's that Amazon Fire.
I get a chance to watch. I get a chance to watch this program through Catapult Thunder, where I get to coach the stuff that colleges. So I watch Baylor every week. I watch TCU every week. I don't know the kids as well, but I know I watch schemes, schematics. I watch all the above.
But Baylor can't.
Me, I'm not going to say bad things about either one of them.
I'm not asking you to. I mean, you and Dave Aranda got to know each other. You worked with them, and you got coaching buddies who were on it. But help me, at least as an analyst, like they cannot defend a quarterback. It's been a problem all year. Avery Johnson, you knew he would run, and he ran for about 70 yards on him. But almost every quarterback with any kind of athleticism has given them fits. They don't get sacks. They pressure occasionally, but they don't know how to. They can't get a guy to the ground, and they don't defend the pass. And maybe they're banged up. Whatever, we can give them that. But everybody else in college football is that way, right? And so they gave up over 300 yards to Avery Johnson in that last game against K-State. TCU found out K-State is nothing easy. But walk me. Can you, after watching Baylor on defense, what do you see going on with this team? And do you see the makings of a decent defense? Because they're 4-2. It's not like it's the end of the world. They're still in it. But they have not been able to fix it all season. What's standing out to you when you watch this Baylor defense?
Well, number one, just as a team, you got to give them some credit because they've won some games in the last minute, a couple of them. They came back against SMU. And so, kick field goals. I think the key that I like about Baylor team is they really play hard and they're still playing hard in the fourth quarter. I think they are a team, people commit, but I think if you want to talk positive, I think their offense the last 2 years has been really, really well. And he's done a great job with it. They've got people that make plays at the wide receiver, running back, and obviously, what's the guy's name? Teague, the tight end.
Oh, Trigg.
I mean, you got a guy that's probably right up there as maybe one of the best tight ends in the nation. So quarterback that's getting the ball to him, can run around a little bit. Defensively, I think they've been a little bit snake bit. I mean, you have guy was there, started one of the games. The guy was there on the first play of the game on a post, and he's right there, and he tips. Hand goes up, he just misses the ball, and they catch it. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows. Yep. I think the best thing that can happen to them is they just gain some confidence and get ready to play. It hurt them to lose the one young linebacker that I think was really coming on, that they felt like was a leader for them.
Yeah.
And, they're back home playing at home. So it's, they come down here. They come
down. Yeah.
Haven't they really on the road? They've played better on the road since in all their games here in the last couple of years. So, yeah. And often, you go to TCU, and I think the biggest thing, the same thing. And if you ask me how to do it, it's going to be both offenses have great skill players. It really comes down to which defense is going to make plays, who's going to get takeaways, and who's going to make the final stops. I think that's the way this game will be on Saturday. It's who can actually take away the better players on both teams on offense, and even though they both throw the ball and TCU hasn't really run the ball that well, but they both have good running backs, and you can't let the quarterback move all over the place where he gets a chance to buy himself time and make plays, and that's that's what the TCU guys done, and that's what the Baylor quarterbacks done. They both have, haven't been around, and they both have good people on their team. I think that's the one thing I like about both teams. They have good people. As far as players, the kids are good people. Not everywhere do you have good teams and they're good people, but I think they have good people on their teams. And you usually don't fight back like Baylor had unless you have good people on their teams, which says a lot about playing for Dave. And really offensively, they don't seem to panic. They don't feel like they're ever out of the game, and they've come back and they've scored points. So I expect a shootout, and then whichever defense can make the other team reload somewhere in there and make them miss a couple turns is going to be the team that's got a chance of winning it.
You just need a Phil Bennett stop in there somewhere, right? A Phil Bennett takeaway.
Yeah.
You need one mix in a stop at some point. Yeah, that's what it used to be. I mean, that's the way they played.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've both been around each other for a while, so it's not going to be something that anybody's surprised. Both like putting formation into the boundary. Yeah, like I said, I've watched a lot of football on these two dudes.
Yeah.
So it's which I do every week because of just ranking the top 5 to 10 schools, and then I pay close attention to a couple other schools because I've helped them and see how they're playing. Like I have a coach at Missouri State, which they're playing really good defense. Coach at New Mexico State that they hired, and so that's what I get. That's what I get to do anymore, Matt. Is I get a chance to help if I can. The key is not to screw them up. I think that's the key, is to just say it and then back away, and if they use it, they use it. If they don't, they don't. And don't worry about it. And so, but a lot of ways to skin a cat.
That was very interesting what you said about how TCU and Baylor kind of needed each other. And I think that was well said. And I think that's one of the fascinating things about this series. So go over there Saturday, check on your statue, see how it's doing. I don't know if you ever walk by and have a conversation.
No, because I told him to put it on the basketball side. I didn't want to ever have to look at it. The only key is that the AD's office has to look out their office every day, and they see my backside. That's where that statue is.
And you're thinner. I think you're thinner now than even when they were designing the statue. So you seem to be doing well, whatever.
That's why I got my golf hat on, Shady Oaks, Little Nine. It's, it's right now I tweak my elbows, so I've been busy doing things. We just opened a food pantry with Tarrant County Food Bank area. There's about 105 of them here. We just opened our fourth one in the area, so we're trying to, you don't just stop, you try to make difference in the city. If I can't do it as a football coach, then I'm trying to make it as a humanitarian when you do all the things. But really my wife is the champ in that. Kelsey, her and Camille, and it's fun. That's where I was at when I was rushing back here to get on this podcast. We just opened another one up in Crowley at a Crowley middle school. So
that's awesome. And North Crowley's got an amazing program and all of that. And that was different than what I was doing before this podcast. I was not doing charity work, and I guess I need to get out and maybe mentor somebody or do some of that. Gary, it's I just couldn't let a Baylor, the rivalry. We're not even going to bring up the other name for it. I don't think that's taken hold, thank goodness. But you just can't think about this rivalry without thinking of you. So appreciate you doing this. And man, thanks for all you do in Fort Worth, and thanks for your friendship, and thanks for never holding any of my comments in the past against me. You've had to forgive a lot of folks, a lot of good Baylor people over the years, and I think that says a lot about you. So thank you very much, sir.
Well, Drake Toll, we had rivalry week a couple weeks ago, and TCU was playing SMU, but I brought Baylor into it. So when he worked for Baylor and 247, whatever it was, 247, whatever his role was. And so when they brought it up, I showed one of his tweets. Now I had to take out the middle of it to make it PG, because his whole job was to get after Gary Patterson and TCU athletics. He said, Coach, I was only 20 when I did that. I said, Drake, you're only 24 now. So what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Anyway,
if you've been around, I don't think he's grown up that much. We've both been around him, so we know. And I heard, in Joe.
No, but I like him. Yeah. I think he's got a great future in the business.
We'll see. We'll just track it. Okay. I'm not ready to make my determination on that. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate it.
We'll see.
There he goes, Gary Patterson on the Mosley Show. It's always fun, and Scotty, as you see, it can go anywhere it wants to go. And I was trying to do some Mosley investigative work on the origins of the relationship with Art. He didn't want any part of that, which is smart of him. But that was very cool. At one point, he really did say some kind things about Art. I think Art would be pleased to know that Gary thought that. And I thought that was really interesting, what he said about, like, TCU wouldn't have accomplished what it accomplished without Baylor, and the same way. And I think there's some truth to that. They were battling each other, and those two coaches did not like each other, and the two fan bases, and they kind of drove each other. And I'm glad Gary recognizes that. And honestly, in the past, he's tried to kind of get away from all the rivalry talk. We got him to talk about it a lot, which I think is good and which is fun. And we'll be able to share a lot with our folks. So that was good. Okay, we got breaking Cowboys news, and we got some really cool thing that I know Scotty's going to do with Ascension Providence. You see their name every day at the bottom of our screen. One of the great hospital systems in the country and state of Texas for sure. And Scotty's got a real cool interview that he's going to share with us. All of that coming up next.
Bubble wasn't here. I don't know what people would be doing, like making PowerPoints or something. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
At Covers & All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. We deliver premier protection at affordable prices and express shipping. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
Better sleep, inspired by nature. Your back, hips, and shoulders will fall into perfect alignment in any position, meaning that you get deeper, more comfortable rest. Visit ecoterrabeds.com.
Cleanse your body of accumulated toxins and embark on your wellness journey at your own pace. At Global Healing, we provide premium supplements to help your body heal naturally. Start your healing journey today at globalhealing.com and organichemp.com.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious.
Is your Mac running slow? Mac Booster 8 is your all-in-one solution to clean up 20 types of junk files. Get your Mac running like new again with Mac Booster 8. Visit macboost.net today.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
At Mapiful, we believe in celebrating your journey. Our unique personalized products are designed to boost your confidence. From custom home decor to meaningful gifts, we help you cherish the memories that make you who you are. Visit mapiful.com and start celebrating your story today.
Welcome back to the Matt Mosley Show. My name is Scotty Swingler. I am here in the Alico Building, Studio 3 for Rogue Media, and I am joined today by Ascension Providence and Dr. Jonathan Wash. He's a podiatrist who specializes in ankle care and does ankle surgery. Dr. Wash, thank you so much for joining us on the Matt Mosley Show.
Scotty, thank you for having me here.
Absolutely.
Great little studio.
Oh, we love it. We love it. So you're here because it is like prime time in Central Texas for athletes, volleyball and football. And I'm sure you see a lot of ankle injuries this time of year.
Yes, sir. It is that time of year. Football's going, volleyball's going, soccer's going. People are running over each other and ankles are getting sprained, keeping us very busy.
So just on a surface level, if I'm an athlete and, these injuries are happening often, even those of us who've gone out for a run have twisted our ankles at some time or another. What are some good care tips or techniques to make sure I'm keeping myself healthy?
Well, an ankle sprain, they come in all different varieties and people experience them differently. Some people will talk about they sprain their ankle all the time, and some people will remember that one time that they sprained their ankle back in high school. And it was, a terrible event. And they hadn't done it since. But most of the time, an ankle sprain is going to look like a twisting injury, whether that's because somebody stepped in a hole, somebody got, stepped on something kind of funny, or got run over, or hit in various ways. And so typically you're seeing bruising, swelling, inability to really stand on the foot or the ankle comfortably. Those are things that kind of get my attention. And if you were to ask me, does that need to be, followed up or checked? I'd say, yeah, that, those signs of bruising, swelling, difficulty walking are something that would really necessitate some type of a visit to make sure that the injury is not more severe.
Yeah, and that was what I was going to ask you, because I have a little girl and I'm a dad, and when I was in high school, I graduated 15 years ago. Any amount of ankle injury, minor, kind of like I tweaked it, or I remember one time sophomore year, rolled it during a basketball game and it just inflated like a balloon. And coach is always going to say, put some ice on it, elevate it, and you're fine. At what point does a parent or an athlete need to go from kind of that mode of it'll get better to they really do need to come get checked out?
Yeah, so coach is right. That's going to be the first thing. Rest it, ice it. Maybe use an ankle brace. Got a boot, you can use a boot, elevation, those kind of things to help reduce it and kind of just take stock of it. If you absolutely can't walk on it, then we need to go ahead and get some x-rays through either an urgent care or in a physician's office to kind of look at it. But if it's just one of those things that, it's sore, I'm not real sure, give it a day or two. If it's bruised, if it's swelling, if you're having problems, then that's probably a reason to get it checked. And from there, we're going to try to grade these ankle sprains. We're going to talk about, different injuries, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 injuries. And that really kind of speaks to the level of trauma that occurred, whether the ligaments are torn or whether they're just stretched. I always tell patients that a sprain is simply just a fancy word for you tore something. And that's what we're trying to figure out. And then at that point, I tell patients that, the good news is that, yes, it hurts now. It's uncomfortable. 85% of these will get better just with that rest and that elevation, maybe a little therapy, maybe a little immobilization. But the 85% of the time, they're going to be just fine. They're going to get back in the game and play and do, return to the previous level of performance. Problem is when you got, 85 does not equal 100. So you got 15% or so that are going to have some chronic pain and some chronic instability there. And so if they weren't seen initially after that first injury, but yet, they're 6-8 weeks out and it's still kind of sore and just doesn't feel quite right, that for sure is a time to get it checked.
Now, you mentioned this. You talked through there's kind of different levels of this grades, and sometimes for Central Texas sports fans who maybe aren't competing anymore, we read an injury report for the Cowboys or the Bears, and it's like, man, I don't know what a grade 2 ankle sprain is or what a high ankle sprain is, right? Can you talk us through what some of these injuries mean so that when we're reading injury reports, we understand what's going on?
So grade 1 through 3 is kind of how we grade the classic ankle sprains, and that's a strain or a stretching of the ligaments, kind of a grade 1. You don't have a complete tear. We get into grade 2 and grade 3 where we've got 1 or 2 of the ligaments that are torn. And then you mentioned a high ankle sprain, and that's kind of a whole nother category there. That has to do with the connection between the two leg bones, the ones that kind of keep the tibia and the fibula together. And that's when that either gets torn or stretched or strained or injured in some way. And that kind of allows for a little separation between those bones. And that becomes kind of a bigger issue. It's dealt with differently. A lot of times in an athlete, that's going to require some type of a surgical repair sooner than later in order to maintain the stability there.
That is why, by the way, when you're watching ESPN and they say high ankle sprain, that's worse news than just rolling one's ankle. Yep. Yeah. For our Central Texas viewers, lots of folks around Waco, greater Central Texas, if they need care, whether it's for ankle injury or any other manner of sports injury, why should they come to Ascension Providence? What do you guys offer that they need to know about?
We've got it all. I'm there, and I'm in kind of a specialty clinic myself, and then we've got I've got colleagues that are with the orthopedics and sports medicine department, and we can handle everything from the smallest injury to the largest injury, whether it's shoulder, knee, hand, foot, ankle. We've got an ability to cover all that. We can evaluate it there in the office. We can all get x-rays in our office. We've got the ability to do MRI right there on site. We've got fantastic physical therapists that we really lean on to help with, getting athletes back into the game. And then we've got a fully qualified surgical department, and we can, if it came to that, we could fix that. And so really we're all just we've got it all right there. It's a great place to be.
Well, our viewers know Matt Mosley's show, We Choose Ascension Providence. Thank you so much for joining us for the show today and letting us know a little bit about these ankle injuries.
Thank you for your time.
If you want the best for your body, you want Ascension Providence, the largest sports and orthopedics group in Central Texas. Using innovative and cutting-edge technology, we're able to understand your body better than ever, delivering treatment with precision. And with our fellowship-trained and board-certified doctors, you'll receive excellent care. Work with a team dedicated to your health, wellness, and safety.
So you can perform.
At your best.
Ascension Providence, caring for Texas families for over 120 years.
Drive in the fall at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Waco. Huge savings and the best selection in Central Texas. From powerful Ram trucks, Motor Trend's Truck of the Year, to adventure-ready Jeeps and stylish new Dodges, we've got the right ride for you. Upgrading, downsizing, or buying your very first vehicle, Allen Samuels has you covered with friendly service and deals that make driving fun. Don't miss the Drive in the Fall event, only at Allen Samuels.
Come by, let's be friends.
When Central National Bank decided to partner with Baylor women's basketball, we didn't know exactly what that partnership would look like.
What brings you into the bank today?
For the last couple of months, I've been noticing a charge on my account, and I would like to block it.
I see. So you have a charge?
Yes.
And you'd like to block it?
Yes.
I think you should take the charge.
What?
Yeah, I definitely think you should take the charge.
I don't think you understand.
Sometimes you just have to take one for the team.
Is there a manager available?
We love that Coach Collin is all about the team. Once we get the vocabulary down, the sky's the limit.
Central National Bank, proud partner of Baylor Athletics and Baylor women's basketball.
I have Mac Rhodes, director of Baylor Athletics, on the phone. Mac, can you tell Peggy why she should take the charge?
Of course she should take the charge. Wait, are you at the bank again? And who is Peggy?
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code Mosley to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code MOSLEY. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play-and-get-terms_DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369.
It is the old Mosley Show. Wow, what a day. We've had, and I love that, Scotty. That was good stuff from Ascension Providence. I mean, the ankle doctor, kind of knowing. I mean, I've turned my ankle only about. If I just had him earlier in my life, I think I could have learned a little bit of some preventive tips and some reactions. I had a horrible sprain before the Houston game. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, and I came down there to Baylor on crutches, a tennis injury. Horrible ankles. Don't always buy the right shoes. That's good. That's good. Ascension Providence, man. They are partnering with us, and so we'll be featuring some of their doctors. And that guy, I mean, he looks like a guy that means business. You know, but such a nice guy, and it was good to see him, Scotty. Good job watching that interview inside our beautiful studios there at the Alico building, and good to have the doctor come visit us from Ascension Providence. It is a time we always talk about Brazos Landing this time of day. This is where we land. This would be a good time to head over there and enjoy the beautiful, just the appetizers, the happy hour, the New Orleans bar. That's the beautiful sort of crescent New Orleans dark, beautiful bar indoors, and then outside you can be out there by the river. And on a pretty day like today, it'd be great to get out there and just experience some of that. So love talking about Brazos Landing, and of course our presenting sponsor, Central National Bank. Now tomorrow, Brad Sham, the legendary voice of the Cowboys, will be on with us, and that'll happen at about, I think, 1:30. And so that'll be good. And then, of course, Saturday, we'll come to you live from just the shadows of Amon Carter Stadium. We'll be over there gathered and doing TV, doing YouTube work for the Green and Gold Game Day pregame show. Scotty's been hard at work on that. We got a lot of cool features. And, of course, we'll have some stuff perhaps from Gary Patterson from his visit with us. And, Scotty, I thought that was a good moment. Now, I was hoping he would actually get into the art, that part of it, but there was a point in that interview where he really paid Art a huge compliment, and he kind of paid himself a compliment, and but I think it was all accurate. It was one of the greatest defensive innovators of his whole era in Gary Patterson, and the man who tried to learn how to defend the air raid and slow it down a little bit. Didn't always slow it down against Art Briles. Sometimes he had success. Sometimes he did not. But I thought that part where he shared a kind word about Art. I mean, I thought, my gosh, is hell going to freeze over? I mean, this is interesting. And man, right at the end, did you hear that little slug he got in at the TCU AD? You know, the way they have it, the AD can look down there and see his rear. Love that little barb from Gary there at the end. Now that is funny. Now, I'm sure he's used that before, but I liked it. And man, we'll share a lot of that. We'll get some of that interview out there. And I thought some of the stuff that Gary shared was really, really good. I was trying to get him to dig in there at the end, Scotty, on what is going on with this Baylor defense. The problem is he's got too many coaching buddies on both sides. I think he would have been a little more willing to discuss what's wrong with TCU's defense because he doesn't have as many people over there. He's got, He's got the cornerbacks coach, Paul Gonzalez, is one of his old coaches. Jared Anderson was with him for like 20 years. That's the tight ends coach at Baylor. And I think he would have been a little bit more willing to discuss what's going on with TCU and some of the negatives happening there. But there you are as Baylor and TCU. And one of the more interesting things I thought that he shared, Scotty, was Scotty, by the way, it's I know we're at the end. You want to do some trivia Thursday real quick? We just went so long with Coach. Now we could do this. We could do it tomorrow if you'd rather, or we could do it right now. Scotty, how do you want to do this?
Man, let's do it tomorrow when folks have time to actually chime in.
Okay. All right, because we do want winners, and we do want these free sandwiches. We'll be sharing a lot of our interview with Gary Patterson with you over the next 24 hours. We'll flood the zone with that, and there's a lot to get to and a lot of interesting comments from Gary Patterson as he awaits to find out if he's going into the College Football Hall of Fame. So appreciate everybody who was a part of that one. And thank you, Scotty. Good work from you. And thank you to Gary Patterson for being with us today. It is the Matt Mosley Show. It is the YouTube version of that show. We'll be with you tomorrow at 1 o'clock straight up. Everybody have a great evening.